No?
We saw Nolan involved today. First time we've seen that in spring ball. Does it mean that he's back on the field, and what's he able to accomplish this year?
Yeah, he doesn't really have anything significant. He's just had something that's been nagging for a while. Obviously, we would have loved to have him for spring ball, but that hasn't happened. It's going to be really important as he has a real strong summer. But he was able to get some individual work today. So, you know, you hate to see those guys miss the reps, but it is a blessing in disguise for the other guys that got a ton of reps in practice, Javen and Alicini and those types of guys. But we would love to have him.
James, speaking of something significant, we saw Cam Wallace today, and we know that he had a serious injury last September. What has it been like watching him go through that rehab process to get to this point, at this point in the calendar?
Yeah, just, in a good position now. He was able to do some individual today in the last practice as well. As you guys can imagine, with a significant injury like he had, there's a physical component to it, there's a mental component to it, and there's an emotional component to it. So I think he's in a good place. There's some types of injuries that the doctors are going to push you because you got to work through it, and there's others that you can't, right? And, that was one of those. So I think he's going to be in really good position for summer camp, and he's right about where he should be at this stage. Is your voice deeper than it normally is right now?
I don't think so.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just saying, what factors do you consider when you're looking at
It just got higher. It got higher.
It's the speed. It's
Okay, the cadence. The cadence. Okay.
you need me to give a
No.
one here. Factors when you're thinking about bringing in two quarterbacks into the class. What do you consider? What makes the difference?
Well, I think we've done it multiple times here. I think number one, you'd like those guys to have different skill sets. That plays a factor into it. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have as much competition at every position as we possibly can. And I think we all seen kind of what's going on in college football with the transfer portal, that we want to be aggressive at that position. But I will also say this, that we don't do anything without communicating ahead of time, because we got a ton of respect not only for our program and how we have to run it, but also the decisions people have and the decisions they've made. So we're just very upfront and honest and transparent, and wouldn't make any of those decisions unless people are comfortable.
James, will you be able to go to the draft? Will you be able to attend a draft with Abdul or go to see Tyler? And can you talk about what it means for the program to have that sort of visibility at that level? Yeah,
so last year I think we had 2 guys drafted in the first round. I think there was only 6 programs in the country that had 2 guys drafted in the first round. We'll have 2 guys drafted most likely again in the first round, so that list will shrink. I'm gonna, myself, Dion, Ty How's wife, a few of the media people, internal media. We're going to fly down, have lunch with Tyler and his grandparents and his parents and his entire family during the day, because there's no way to be with both of them at the same time. And then Ty will stay there and Karen will stay there and have celebrate with Tyler Warren, and then they'll rent a car and drive back. And then we'll fly out to Green Bay and celebrate with Abdul. And then as soon as that happens, jump on the plane and fly back, because we got things we got to get done. And then obviously I also want to make sure that I'm calling and I'm in touch with all the other guys, because I'd love to be at all of theirs, right? And all of them are having draft parties, and we just can't make it to all of them. So we'll be in touch with all those guys as well. Make sure we're communicating.
James, you've talked about a couple of the guys that have been out and we saw back at practice, but have there been some of those young players, maybe on the defensive side of the ball, that in the absence of some of those veterans have stepped up and maybe changed your opinion of what they could be for you in this upcoming season? Yeah,
I think it's similar to what we talked about with Rucci, with some of the other guys like Alicini getting reps. It's the same thing. On the defensive side of the ball with Denai, missing time this spring, it's allowed a bunch of defensive ends to get a ton of reps. You know, and you can say that at a number of positions. But yeah, like for us, the way we practice, the way we install, we do 2 groups on defense. We do 3 groups at times on offense, so everybody's getting reps. Same thing like today. We're doing the 1s, we're doing the 2s, and we're also doing the 3s and 4s, which not a lot of people do that. We do the same thing during training camp. So those reps are valuable, right? For us to evaluate, for the players to have an opportunity to grow and get better, for all of it. You know, a lot of decisions are going to have to be made here in the future, so those reps are critical.
James, have you decided on that review for the game or so?
Yeah, it'll be very similar to what it's been in the past. We're doing an autograph session this year. We will start with 2 skellies. Then the first quarter we'll go thud, so everybody can get reps. Then we'll transition second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter will be live, so we can evaluate those guys in the stadium. Kicking will be on air like it's been in the past. I think each quarter is maybe a minute shorter than it's been that you guys are used to, and then it won't be on TV. That was one of the things I was adamant about with the changes that we're making. But it'll be very similar to kind of what we've done in the past.
James, have any of the January enrollees, I know it's still a little bit early, but with spring almost done, anyone kind of flash for you, or anyone you think that maybe has a chance to help themselves in August, if they can build on what they did in spring?
Yeah, I think so. You know, especially the guys that were here during the playoffs and things like that. Like, again, I hate doing this because if I say somebody, and then I know I'll walk up my office and the guy say, I wish I talked about this guy. Alicini and Troutman, the 2 linemen, have been really impressive. I think Darius Dixon has been very impressive. I think Tikey has flashed and been impressive. I see right now, you know, he doesn't look like it, but he's gained you know, a few pounds. He still looks like he's about 137 pounds, but Lyric is starting to flash right now. You wouldn't think he's 185 pounds. Again, he does not look like it. Randy Adarica has been a real pleasant surprise. So there's really a bunch of them that I could say. Kobe Howard. A lot of guys are talking about Kobe Howard. He's flashed. So really a bunch of them. Kind of had a meeting with those guys today about, you know, special teams, playing on special teams as true freshmen, if that's their primary role, you know, things like that, who would be interested in doing it. So we got time to figure it out, but, you know, it's worthwhile. You know, we don't push anybody to graduate early and come in here early, but the guys that want to do it, it's valuable. Academically, it's valuable. Football-wise, it's valuable.
James, you mentioned Tikey there. We heard from Stan about him last week too, so I'm just curious specifically on him. What is it about his body of work, this spring ball, that gives you that confidence?
He's just very driven. He's very motivated. Aliquippa's a hell of a program. And what we have found is when you can get good players from really good programs, they're just much further ahead. Super competitive. He's tough. This isn't too big for him. So just a lot of things to like about him. You know, a lot of things to like about him that have showed up already out here.
Hey James, there's a lot of good players in that running back room. You mentioned how important the RB3 spot's going to be this season behind Singleton and Allen. Well, how creative can Andy get with all the talent that's at running back this season?
Very. You know, obviously we want to be able to use multiple backs on the field. That'll be part of the conversation, right? It's the wide receivers aren't just competing with the wide receivers. The tight ends aren't just competing with the tight ends. The wide receivers are competing with the tight ends. So the third wide receiver is competing with the second tight end. The third wide receiver is competing with the second running back. The second tight end's competing with the second running back in terms of who's going to be on the field, right? And obviously we'll do a little bit of all those things, but at the end of the day, we got to get our best players on the field. So the more that we can use our running backs in different ways, like receivers, helps with that. It's been a big part of what we've done this spring. It'll need to be a big part of what we do during training camp as well.
James, you've gotten a longer look at Gonzalez than you got last year. What does he showed you to this point?
All he's done is individual. So.
What's it meant for him, I guess, to get his feet back underneath him on the field?
Yeah, it's great. It's hard for me to say a whole lot about a guy who's just done individual. He hasn't been able to be cleared for anything else. I haven't seen him in a one-on-one. I haven't seen him in a 7-on-7. So it's hard to say. He's a beautiful kid. He's big. He's strong. Obviously ran really well, before the injury. He's a very mature kid. He's a very intelligent kid. But we just haven't had a chance to see. He got hurt pretty early on during the season last year, and then hasn't been cleared yet, this spring. So it's just hard for me to speak on a whole lot of that stuff rather than kind of the intangible traits that he has.
Thank you.
Thanks.